Earning points on rent is so fetch.
Bilt. Stop trying to make earning points on rent happen. It's not going to happen.
The Bilt Blue Card is probably the most controversial card of 2026. For a lot of people, it's the obvious landing pad for the prior version 1 card, despite it not being a great rent card anymore. Today we'll look at the basics, some traps to watch for, and who should get the card. Big favor before we dive in is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Okay, right off the bat, this is a no annual fee card. You get 1x points and 4% back in Bilt Cash on everyday purchases with no foreign transaction fees. For all of the new Bilt cards, there's 3 core questions. Number 1 is how do you value the credits relative to the annual fee. Number 2 is how you value Bilt points and Bilt Cash. And number 3, your best alternatives. As a no annual fee card, you avoid the first question. For number 2, starting with Team Cashback, Bilt points redeem as a statement credit at 0.55 cents per point. So the best way to think of this is 1x Bilt is effectively 0.55%. Towards student loans with their partners though, it's 1 cent per point. So 1x is 1%. Between these two numbers, there's also a lot of other options like gift cards that generally are around 0.7 cents per point. If you're on team travel and you're transferring out to partners, I generally target 2 cents per point since that's within my would pay range, but that very much depends on you. So this is a 3-piece formula and that's number 1. Number 2, Bilt Cash is a bit interesting. I did do a separate video for this, and for 2026, they have various options. For example, up to $10 per month towards Lyft rides, up to $25 per month towards Bilt partner restaurants who have mobile dining checkout, and up to $50 per month for the more sit-down style dining experiences. If you're a big spender and you're earning a ton of Bilt Cash, then this becomes pretty prohibitive since you run out of viable options. For example, 10K times 4% is 400 in Bilt Cash. To me at least, there's not 400 viable credits. At the same time, this doesn't really affect the Bilt Blue Card. Looking at data points, most people considering this card are probably spending $250, $500, or $1,000 per month, so 10 to 40 in Bilt Cash per month. Whether you care about the options they have pretty much affects everything. For example, if you live in a city and you use these services, 4% could easily be 4%. Otherwise, maybe it's 2%, 1%, or lower. So that's part 2, Bilt Cash. Best alternatives is your opportunity cost. Think of this as the other cards you could otherwise be using to be earning cash back or points with that you're kind of foregoing. So with the other cards, maybe you're earning this much. With the Bilt Blue, you have to earn more than that for it to make sense. Whether you're on Team Cashback or Travel also affects this number. If you're on Team Cashback, the hurdle rate that I would expect, so the minimum value I would think to get, would be at least 2% on everything. Long-standing options for this include the Fidelity Rewards Visa Signature Card, Citi Double Cash Card, and PayPal Cashback MasterCard. If your long-term goal is travel or you're not sure, then I would opt for points. There are a bunch of transferable point programs where you can redeem for both cashback and travel, and you have that upside, but you also have that high floor. Best case based off my target value is 2 cents per point, so 4% back in total. Alright, so now that we have all these variables, let's plug them in. If you're on Team Cashback, you're looking at a worst case of 0.55% and a best case of 5%. Again, very much depends on how you value things. There's no right answer here, just depends on you. The passing grade here is 2%. Okay, so which of these pass? Quite a few of them. If you value Bilt Cash at 50%, so 50 cents on the dollar, 2% for every 4%, you're in a pretty good spot. In fact, across the whole range, whether you value Bilt points at 0.55 to 1 cent per point, you're actually coming out ahead. Okay, but what if you don't want to deal with Bilt Cash and you'd rather get more Bilt points? They ended up making 2 options for this. The first one is using $30 in Bilt Cash to redeem to earn 1,000 in Bilt points, up to 1x of your rent. Simplifying this, you're converting 3 Bilt Cash for 1 Bilt point. It does depend on the relation of your payments, but you're effectively getting 2x Bilt points and 1% Bilt Cash. Alternatively, and this is arguable, you're getting 2.33x Bilt points. Doing the math, it can work, but you generally want to value Bilt points at 1 cent per point. Just depends on you here. Expressed as just Bilt points, you're looking at the student loan payment option, and that's it. They do have another option called Option 1, where you forego Bilt Cash and you earn multipliers on your rent based off your non-rent spend. Also, if you are trying to figure out which card makes sense for you and which option, whether it's 1, 2A, or 2B, we do have a calculator down below that you can play with and pretty much put in the variables and it solves for you. With Option 1, it can make sense. Let's say your rent is $1,000 and your non-rent is $750. Doing the math there, that's 75%, meaning you're at 1x. 1,000 times 1x is 1,000 Bilt points, and then non-rent is 750 times 1x that you get with the card. 1750 times 1 cent per point is $17.50 on 750 non-rent spend is 2.33% back. The math does get a bit weird. In short, if you want to keep it simple, you want to be as close to the cutoff as possible. So for 50, you don't really want to be at 55 or 59, you want to be at 50. For 100, you want to be at 100, you don't really want to be at 150. Even as someone that likes to min-max and quantify things, it feels like a little bit too much. I guess if you have very consistent 1x spend that you're not otherwise using, like utilities, then this could work. For a lot of people, you're better off picking one of the two extremes, whether that's getting a ton of intro bonuses and cards and min-maxing, or getting a 2% card and calling it a day. If you are going for the latter, pick your poison from the long-standing options, my favorite probably being the City Double Cash card, given the upside on the point side if you do decide to take that path. Or pick one of the new ones, but go into it expecting that it's going to get nerfed and you might need a new card in a few months. Before we dive into the travel side, if you want to learn more about Bilt cards or their competitors or anything in between, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website AskSebby.com and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that the cards make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. For team travel, it gets a bit tougher and a bit more complicated. Bear with me as I make some tables. The number we're working against here is 2x points times 2 cents per point, so 4% back in value with something like the City Double Cash card. With Bilt Cash as Bilt Cash, you're looking at between 2% to 6% net value, with their points also at 2 cents per point. So if you don't discount Bilt Cash, or if you discount it at 25%, then it makes more sense, but at 50%, you're impartial. Okay, but what if we want to turn Bilt Cash into points? For option 2, you're in a pretty strong spot if you value it at 2 cents per point. A good way to think of it is that you're getting the same value, but also 1 extra Bilt Cash on top. Expressed purely as Bilt points, which might not be the most accurate, you're still in a great spot at 4.66%. Option 1 is a bit complicated, so feel free to pause. The long and short of it though is that at 1.25x, it does make sense, but you'd want your non-rent spend to be exactly past 100% of your rent spend. Doing this nets you 2.25x, which beats the 2x we're targeting, but it is very precise. So this is your rent spend, this is your non-rent spend. At that same amount, it's fine, but if your non-rent goes past it, then it's problematic. If it's below, it's also problematic. Perfect though if you're 1-to-1. Okay, so we looked at a bunch of numbers. With all of this, there are some traps to watch for. First off, even in the cases where it might make sense, you do have some risk. For example, let's say you're in team travel and you're trying to accumulate a bunch of points to do that big trip. Let's say it's an anniversary, proposal, honeymoon, graduation, or just because. If you're considering this card, you probably have lower spends, and we don't know if Bilt's going to be around that long. We have seen other points platforms get shut down, and in that case, you lose all the transfer upside. And of course, you can also periodically transfer out, but most people want bank points to be diversified and have options rather than be forced with one partner. At the spend level, I'd probably take a bit less points to also get less risk. Also consider that earning structures can look pretty good right now, but it also could change in 6 to 12 months. Banks are very slow moving and startups by virtue are very fast. A common mantra in tech is to move fast and break things. You can't be mad if or when that happens. Lastly, consider that your spending and also your interest in credit cards can change pretty fast. A lot of people like the idea of min-maxing, but most people don't actually enjoy it. If you're not having fun with it, you're going to be done with it. So yes, the math can work and probably does for a lot of people, but you can't forget about Bilt Cash, and if you do, then that could be problematic. Same thing with not being on top of your spend and making sure that it matches in the right way. On the flip side, if you get very into cards, then this might feel a little bit worthless. This actually happened a lot to people that got into the Apple Card, so it sounds great in principle, and especially if you're working from zero, but if you look at it objectively and in the whole landscape, it is pretty non-optimal and probably did cost you money. Especially if you factor in 524 and you're bonus hunting, that's a few $100 you're losing out on. On the other hand, even if you're just min-maxing, there's more competitive cards out there that get you better multipliers for things like dining and groceries. One of the best examples of this is the Wells Fargo Autograph card, 3x on restaurants, gas stations, travel, transit, popular streaming, and phone plans. Transfer partners are a bit weak with Wells, but that's another story. Another popular pick is the Capital One Saver Cash Rewards credit card. Here it's 3% back on grocery stores, dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services. And also 5% on hotels, vacation rentals, and rental cars booked through Capital One Travel. It also does make one of the strongest duels out there. There's a lot of good cards out there, and a lot of value from intro bonuses. Okay, so who should get this card? If you don't want to get into the rabbit hole of cards, then the Bilt Blue Card isn't a bad pick. Also, you don't have to go this hard, you can be pretty normal. Ideally, you're okay with change since that probably is going to happen. If you're on Team Cashback, you have to value Bilt Cash at a minimum of 50 cents on the dollar and expect that to continue moving forwards. At this level of spend for this card, I think most people should be fine. For team travel and for keeping this cash back, ideally you own a discount by 25% or nothing at all. At 50% you're impartial, and in that case, you're better off of other options. One thing I will note though is that if you do have lower spend, I think it does make more sense to chase intro bonuses. There's a lot of cards out there that offer you 150 cash back for 500 spend in the first 3 months, which means that you're getting 35% return on spend. Most of these are no annual fee, and you want a base of cards anyways. Even long term for things like mortgages, having 2 or 4 or even more well-managed cards is usually ideal versus less. That's not to say that Bilt shouldn't be one of these 4 cards, but I wouldn't limit yourself to Bilt. There's a lot of cards out there, these are tools, you're not committed to it, you're not married to it, you can date around and try different things. Don't try to force one system when there's 10 out there. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Also, if you're trying to figure out which Bilt card to get and which option to pick, we do have that calculator down below as well, and should pop up if you search for it on Google. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the Bilt Blue Card? Number 2, how do you value Bilt points and Bilt Cash? And number 3, what's your long-term strategy for cards? Maybe you're looking for a one and done, or you're building out a roster of cards, or you're willing to try any card. Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.